Okay, hello there, lovely people, and welcome to this live stream on Somatic Lab. So it is my very first live stream on Somatic Lab. I'm super excited to share some somatic movement with you today. My name is Cheryl Lee, and I am a somatic movement educator trained in the school of Thomas Hanna. I have my notes here because I have to tell you, I am 49 years old and perimenopausal, and brain fog is just something else. Even when I already had it through fibromyalgia, so I've got like a double dose at the moment. So yeah, so here are my notes. Okay, so welcome to the session. Let me see, so it's 2 p.m. here in the Midlands where I am in the UK. I don't know where you are, but I hope you've had a lovely start to your day, or if this is at the end of the day, I hope this will be a nice finish to your day. All right then, so we're going to just take a moment to arrive in the session. Take a nice breath. So I'm taking my own advice here. That's a nice physiological sigh. Physiological sigh is a double inhalation, followed by a long, slow exhalation through the mouth. Let's take 3 breaths together. So that was 1. You can do any breath you like. I'm just suggesting a physiological sigh. So let yourself land in your body. I'm going to talk to you for 5 minutes or so before I ask you to get down on the ground. Now, if you're already lying down watching this, that's absolutely fine. You can stay there. No problem. Be comfortable. So, yeah, fully arrive in the session first. Just feel whatever it is under your feet. Feel the chair under your bottom. Feel the bed or the floor under your body. And allow yourself to give in, drop into gravity, drop into yourself, fully inhabit yourself. And I'd like to start by saying that everything that I ask you to do in this session or suggest is an invitation. You do not have to do anything. I only want you to do what you are comfortable with. So my first invitation is that you fully commit to the session by moving your phone out of reach. Yeah, really. Or at least turning it over. All right, and then you can be here. Let yourself land. So yeah, setting the container then for this session and for the following 4 sessions after this. Anything I ask you to do does not override the comfort in your body. That is primary, that is king, that is queen. So you do what is comfortable in your body. And I shall be asking you to slow down and to pause between movements. So that's not going to hurt you. That's going to help. All right. So maybe that piece of advice you can take. That's why you're here. You're here to do somatic movement. You're here to feel something different in your body, aren't you? So slowing down, as Thomas Hanna says, slowing down the movie so the brain can see. It's super important. It took me a long time to be able to do that. I was miss adrenaline rushing around everywhere until about 15 years ago. And I'm a different person now. So, okay, yeah. So if you're feeling well, you can do this on this session on the floor, on a mat on the floor. If you're not feeling too well today, or if you're in pain, then a couple of things. One, you can be on a bed. You can have padding underneath you, because the floor, a hard floor, can feel quite unfriendly, even with a mat on it. That's something that is learned over time, and I do a particular session on that. So you can also imagine the movements, all right? So you don't have to, they're not going to be big movements anyway, so they're going to be slow, we're going to do pauses, and the movements are not going to be massive. And so let's imagine if we were doing the shoulders today, we're not, but if we were doing the shoulders, so if I said to raise the shoulder, I could go right up to here, but you know, that's not a big movement, and it's not my full range if I go there, but it's not a big movement either. But I can go even smaller than that into what I would call micro. So there, and I can release from that, and I can feel it. We're slowing down the movie so the brain can see, and doing a smaller movement as well can help the brain to see better. You get the brain's attention. If you do this, you don't really get the brain's attention because there's a lot going on there. But if you slow it down and make it small, then suddenly the brain's going, they don't normally do this, what's going on? And so you've got your brain's attention, and that's what you want. That's why you're here. You're here to interrupt a feedback loop of tightness that you have going on in your body. All right, so those are 3 ways to do it. Slowing down, taking a resting breath, and making movements smaller, even, micro. All right, yeah, so we are going to be lying on the floor in a moment. You may, if you have a sore neck, you might feel like you need a pillow, and that is okay, but just make sure the pillow's not pushing your neck forward. All right, so make sure it is actually supporting you, and it's even better if the pillow can come down a little bit towards your shoulders so that you're lifting the thoracic area as well, as so it's not just your head. Okay, but you be comfortable. I want you to be comfortable. Okay, so let me outline this series of sessions. So there are 5 sessions in this series. This is the first. They're going to be progressive. All right, so every week I'm going to be layering some more information and and layering on a new movement. Each movement is going to deal with a different area of the body. So for example, today we are going to be doing the very first movement that people learn in somatics, which is arch and flatten, and that's our fundamental movement, and we use it to get people in their bodies and to get people feeling their spine, feeling the movement in their spine. In session 2, we will be doing more of a flexion movement, so rolling forward. In session 3, we are going to be doing extension, so arching the back and tilting the head and tailbone backwards. Lesson 4 will be for the side of the body, and lesson 5 will be a rotational movement of the spine. I've got loads more than just 5, so I'm hoping this will carry on, and we'll get into the 20s, 30s, 40s with these sessions. So I've made it a single item agenda. We're just doing one movement, but we're going to really take our time over it. Hopefully, when we go fully live from the 5th of October, there's going to be people in the room who are able to interact and respond and ask questions. So the way it will go is I'll introduce the movement, you'll go on the floor, and then I'll respectfully mute you all so that you can work in silence on your own. There won't be any disruption to your experience on the floor. And then after we've done the movement on the floor, we can come back, and I expect that to take about half an hour. So I've allowed an hour for this session. So the movement teaching will be about half an hour, and then we will come back together as a group, if you so wish, for inquiry, feedback, asking questions, sharing, or just general chit chat. I mean, maybe you want me to put on my skeleton suit, and I will happily oblige at some point. Okay, so that's that bit. So right, okay, I have to warn you now that I'm going to show you a snake. It's not a real snake, but I once made the mistake of bringing this out when I had a client. She had phobia, and she absolutely nearly threw the place down. So I'm just forewarned, here is a snake. So why am I showing you a snake? Well, I want you to imagine that this is your spine. It's got many more vertebrae than you, but hey, you know, it's just an example. It's just for a visual image. Now, if I start moving this snake at the tail, can you see that it isn't just the tail that's moving? Can you see that there is a ripple of movement going up? And if I make the movement a little bit bigger or give it a different direction, then actually we've got movement at the head. And it's a tiny movement that I'm making here. Okay, so I know you can't see me. Hello. All right, so the point is your spine is a conduit. So there is movement along the spine. Now, if we were to, spoiler alert, move the spine in the middle, so imagine that's the middle of your spine, what happens? Can you see that there's actually a shortening? Okay, so the tail moves in and the head moves in. So there's a shortening and then an elongation. Now, a third thing I'm going to show you with this snake is the movement on both sides. So your spine has got two sides. So when we do that movement of lifting in the center of the spine, look what happens. So let's imagine, move the center of the spine. Look, these bits here have come closer together. All right, so I want you to imagine in the spine, that's the muscles coming closer together. And on the opposite side, they've come closer apart. So all of the bones, the fascia, the tissues, the muscles have come further apart. And look, it happens in reverse. So if we dip the spine, then the vertebra come further apart. All of the muscles, all of the tissues come further apart. And look what's happened on the upper side, which would be your abdominals. Everything has come closer together. This is our movement, arch and flatten. That's what we're going to be doing today. I like to give a visual because I think that's something to hold on to when you're on the floor, because I'm not going to be giving you visual clues or showing you anything when you're actually doing the movement. I'd like to meet a couple of characters. Right, so let's look at this character first. This character is pretty relaxed and floppy. I'm going to put myself in this. There you go. All right, so this character is fairly relaxed and floppy. So if I kind of pick him up by the center, then look, there's a gentle movement in the extremities and in the head and neck and in his little tail. All right. That movement is proportionate as well. So it's not sort of a huge movement in one area and a tiny movement in the other. So there's a flow, isn't there, through the material, through the tissues, let's say. Now, let's have a look at this other character. Childhood toy. Now this character can't even put his limbs down on the floor. And if I try to pick this character up, it's just solid. Everything comes together. Everything moves as one unit. That's a little bit like what happens to us in the center of our body when we have tension, okay? When we have tightness. Thomas Hanna, the developer of Hanna Somatics, had a name for it. He called it sensory motor amnesia. I'm just going to come back up to standing there. Shift it that way. Yeah, so Thomas Hanna called that sensory motor amnesia. The sensory motor amnesia is when you can't feel yourself, and when you can't feel yourself, you can't move. So we have maps here in the brain, we have maps of the body, we have sensory maps, feeling maps, and we have motor maps, movement maps. The brain needs a good map of the territory for good movement. If it doesn't have a good map, that could mean sort of areas are seen as one unit, like that monkey, or like somebody who, when they raise their arm to reach something, everything goes up together. There's no differentiation between the arm, the shoulder, and the neck. It moves as one unit. It's not going to kill you. Can you move better? Yes. And that is what we teach you to do in somatics. We help you to differentiate the different areas of your body to give your brain a better map of the territory. And when your brain has a better map of the territory, then your movement is better. Does it happen overnight? No. You have to practice. It's a process. It's a learning process, and it's actually a skill. And the more you practice, the better you will get. Okay, right. So I invite you now, if you wish, to come and lie on the floor. So you are going to lie on your mat with your legs extended, preferably without a pillow, but you are the master or mistress of your own destiny. And if you need padding to be comfortable, you have that padding, please. Because if you're not comfortable, you won't relax. You'll hold on to tension. So I want you to be able to relax against the surface that you're on. And if that requires padding, then you have that. Maybe over the weeks, you can take that padding away. Okay, so lie down, settle, and I invite you to close your eyes. It is better if you close your eyes because you shut out any visual cues. So I am not going to be doing any visuals for you now. I'm just going to be giving you instructions and some information. So close your eyes if you're willing. And I'm going to read you something. So this is from a most excellent book called The Poetry Pharmacy. The title's cool, isn't it? And it prescribes poems for certain events. The event today is the fear of the unknown. This is my first session on Somatic Lab. This could be your first session on Somatic Lab. This could be your first time of doing somatics, and maybe you have some pain, and maybe you've done movement classes in the past and it's been frightening because you have hurt yourself. So it's very normal and reasonable to be apprehensive about the unknown. Okay. It's called What If This Road, and it is by Sheena Pugh. Excuse me. What is this road? What if this road? Get it right. What if this road by Sheena Pugh. What if this road that has held no surprises these many years decided not to go home after all? What if it could turn left or right with no more ado than a kite tail? What if its tarry skin were like a long, supple bolt of cloth that is shaken and rolled out and takes a new shape from the contours beneath? And if it chose to lay itself down in a new way, around a blind corner, across hills you must climb without knowing what's on the other side, who would not hanker to be going at all risks? Who wants to know a story's end, or where a road will go? So you don't know what is going to happen in this session for you. Maybe your body will find, what did it say? New contours, new shape from beneath, supple like a bolt of cloth. Just hold in mind a possibility that that can happen. I like to say, be a chameleon. I didn't make that up. I stole it from David Butler. But anyway, be a chameleon. So that means look for change. All right. Before we can look for change, though, we need a map of the territory. So that's what we're going to do now. We are going to begin with what we call a Soma Scan. So if you do mindfulness, you might also already be aware of the body scan. This is slightly different. So, lying on your back with your legs extended, we are going to take a reading of how your body contacts the surface. So it's proprioceptive. We have receptors all over the skin, in muscles, bones, in tissue, telling us where our body is in space. So it's your first reading of where is your body in space, but also it's a reading, now you are on the floor, you're out of gravity, your muscular effort is not needed anymore to hold you up. So you could be completely relaxed, but are you? Or is your nervous system still holding you slightly away from the floor? So it's a reading of that. So I invite you to close your eyes once more, and let's begin at the feet. Notice the weight in the heels, and just notice whether there is more weight in one side compared to the other, and whether indeed there is weight into more one side of the heel. So one foot might feel like it's turned out a little more than the other. We're not looking for problems. We're not looking for asymmetries. We're not finding issues and criticizing ourselves. There's no judgment here. Okay, so empty your mind of that. This is just a reading, okay, of the proprioception and the neuromuscular setting, your nervous system setting. And your nervous system setting and level of tension can change very, very quickly, okay? So no judgment of yourself. So weighting in your heels. Now notice how the calf contacts the surface, moving up the leg to the back of the thigh. It may or may not be in contact with the surface. And then the pelvis. Does the pelvis feel more weighted on one side? Do you feel maybe like you're leaning over to the left or leaning over to the right? Does it possibly feel like even that one leg and a half side of the pelvis, hemipelvis, is weighted over to one side? Perhaps even it could feel like your leg is longer. Could feel like your leg is heavier. Okay, no judgments, remember, just notice. So from the pelvis, now move to the shoulders. Notice your shoulders. So you have ribs and you have the shoulder blades, a flat piece of bone, flattish piece of bone at the back of the ribs. Notice the weighting in your ribs and shoulder blades. Does one side feel heavier? Does one side feel more in contact? And if so, is that the same as your pelvis, or is it an opposite side? Or can you feel a differential in the weighting in your shoulders, but not in your pelvis? All of this is fine. And now notice the backs of your arms. Are they in contact? What about your forearms? What are they doing? What about your wrists? What about your hands? What have you chosen to do with your arms? Have you rolled your arms out? And if so, is that actually comfortable? Are you trying to deliberately straighten your arms, or are your arms relaxed? Or have you chosen to bring your arms in? Are you sort of in a protective kind of posture with your arms inwards just because it feels more comfortable? Again, these are all giving you clues about your patterns and your muscular holding. Let's now take a reading of the spine. Start at the tailbone. Now, do you know where your tailbone is? All right, so to locate the tailbone, it is directly above the anus. Yes, I said that. But that then gives you the ease of feeling where your tailbone is, or it gives you more information. So from the tailbone, well, first of all, notice, does your tailbone feel tilted upwards towards the ceiling, or downwards towards the floor, or just neutral? Just notice. And then notice the sacrum, the back of the pelvis. Does that feel in contact? Does it feel comfortable? If at any time you are uncomfortable, you have permission to move, roll over, do something to be comfortable, okay? You can always repeat this. Make your way up the spine. We're at the lumbar vertebra now. Now, the lumbar area commonly arches. Can you sense an arch away from the surface? Maybe you are a little bit more flat in this area and you don't have a pronounced arch. Or maybe you can really feel it. How comfortable is that area of your spine, and how how high it is away, or how far it is away from the floor or the surface? And then follow it upwards in your mind's eye, getting to around about your rib cage. Now notice when you feel the spine contacting the surface again. Can you feel that? Or is it all just one? Just notice. And then getting up towards the neck. Does the neck feel relaxed and long? Does it feel arched? Does it feel comfortable? And where is the weighting on the skull bone? Is it towards the crown of your head with your chin tilted upwards, or is it more towards the nape? Is it more to the left, or is it more to the right? Now, I'm just going to give you a direction in a moment. I'm going to avoid a word. I am not going to ask you to turn your head, all right? So forget I said that. I'm going to say, allow your head to lazily roll to the left and the right. Slowly. Go slowly. Go lazily. And stay in comfort, and notice something. Can you go more to one side compared to the other? So that might be because you were already kind of leaning towards that side, and as you roll, you haven't got very far to go, whereas you've got a lot further on the other side. So just notice how that is for you. And just consider, don't do it, but consider, if I had said turn your head to the left, would your movement have been different? I know mine would. I know a turn for me, it would be quick, it would be global, or everything happening at once, and it would be kind of in one plane, whereas allow your head to roll. Actually, there's a curve to that movement, which lets me feel the skull bone against the surface. Now, a couple more things. Imagine that you are magically whisked away from the surface, and you're hovering above the surface, and you can see the impression of your body in kind of wet sand or cement. Just take in, what would that impression look like? Where would it be, have the deeper depressions? And then float back down. Notice the breath in your body. Where is moving in your body with the breath? Notice any feelings, emotions that you have. And notice any thoughts. What's going through your mind? What are you thinking? Just notice that without holding on to it. And notice your level of alertness. So has that maybe relaxed you a little bit? Or are you frustrated? Does it feel like it, you're a little bit stiff and you want to move? And either of those, that's all okay. Everything is welcome. So we've taken a reading. That was your first Soma Scan. So we're now going to move into our starting position, but we're going to bypass your habit. So I could just tell you what position I want you in and let you get into that. But instead, I'm going to tell you and ask you not to move so that you can do something called motor planning. Now, motor planning is allowing your brain the time to plan the movement. How is it going to execute this movement? And then you're going to slowly do the movement a different way. So this is the movement, but please don't do it. So, sorry, this is the position you're going to adopt. Very simple. Your feet are going to be on the floor and your knees are bent. That's it, but please don't do it. So I'm going to direct you and make a different suggestion of how you get into that position. So you're going to allow one knee, doesn't matter which, allow one knee to go slightly out to the side so that the foot is resting on the outer edge. And now begin to bend that knee, drawing the foot up slowly and lazily towards the buttock, and come so far that your foot is nearest your buttock but in comfort. And then you're going to bring the knee so that the knee is pointing towards the ceiling and the sole of the foot is on the floor. And then you're going to relax and allow your thigh bones to clunk into the socket. Allow your foot to really rest against the surface. And you're going to do the same on the other side. So the knee begins to turn out and bend. The foot goes onto the outer edge. You slowly and lazily begin to draw the knee inward. So the knee is still out to the side. The foot is drawing, sliding up towards the buttock. You get so far, and then you start to tilt the knee towards the ceiling and allow the sole of the foot to come onto the floor, and then soften the sole of the foot into the floor and allow the thigh bone to really drop into the hip. Nice. Now imagine your skull bone moving away from your tailbone, just lengthening your spine. So as you breathe in, imagine that sort of lengthening happening. Just to allow your bones to settle. Imagine your collarbones widening. Imagine your pelvis just softening and opening and finding a deeper contact with the floor. And we're going to do our first movement. Now, just notice how that was for you to maybe do just a very normal movement, but do it very, very differently, and maybe break out of a pattern. It could be kind of frustrating, right? We wonder, are we doing it right? But there is no right and there is no wrong. The only wrong is doing something so fast or in such a big range, or with so much force and effort that it actually hurts you. Okay, so that I would say is wrong. That's the only thing you can do wrong. But if you are staying in your comfort zone, if you are finding Goldilocks, I like to say, finding your Goldilocks level of movement, You cannot go wrong. So Goldilocks is just right. Not too much, not too little. It's just right. Okay, now place your fingers at your navel so that you've got some fingers below, some fingers above. Now, the movement that you're going to do, and don't do it please, so this is motor planning, you are going to lift the navel by contracting the back. And then you are going to let the back muscles float down to neutral and you're going to relax. Let's do that now. So you're going to lift the navel by contracting the back muscles and then float the back down. So allow it to float down. Go only to neutral and then completely relax. So you've just done a pandiculation. A pandiculation is 3 steps. 1, it's a contraction. That's lifting the navel, contracting the back muscles. 2, it is a slow, smooth, even release. 3, it's a pause and an opportunity to sense and notice any feedback in your body. So that feedback may be sort of tingling. It may be that sort of sensation you get when, you know, when you have a massage or you get into a warm bath or a warm bed, that kind of like, ooh, nice feeling in your skin, a nice feedback. So just notice what you felt. It could be warmth or even a sense of cool. Okay, so let's do that movement a couple more times. We're only going to do this 4 or 5 times. We don't want to arch, so that's the movement. We don't want to arch too much before we also go the other way. All right then, so you're going to lift again and you're going to float down and you're going to melt. And now you're going to allow sensations, allow an opportunity for that new shape, those new contours, that new level of suppleness. Now let's add the breath. You're going to inhale as you lift, exhale as you come down. So breathe in and arch, exhale and slowly come to neutral, release. Relax, melt, notice. Now remember the snake. So just pause for a moment. Remember the snake. When I lifted it in the middle, remember how the head and the tail moved inwards. Just notice whether the rest of your spine wants to also move along. So breathe in and arch. You're lifting the back, but is the rest of the spine coming along? And as you exhale, you're slowly coming down. And allow the head and the tail to move away from each other. Relax completely. Allow time for change, adaptation, noticing. Allowing the tissues to resettle, to maybe resettle a bit differently, because you've moved the whole length of your spine, haven't you? Along with the fascia and the skin and the muscles and the bones. Lots of stuff. Okay, this time, remember that when I showed you the back and the front of the snake. So this time, as you inhale and arch, I want you to think of those vertebrae at the back coming closer together, but an opening at the front, and then relax down. So we're neutral on both sides, completely relaxed. Now for this last repetition, let's see whether we can get maybe a little bit more movement by rolling the pelvis away from you. So it will be like the tailbone is pointing more downwards towards your feet as you arch. So inhale and arch, roll the pelvis at the same time. Exhale and allow your body to return and then completely relax, melt, sense, settle. And just pause for a moment, maybe lengthen out your legs. And take a couple of slow, smooth breaths. Not trying to breathe any deeper, but possibly slowing down a little, possibly being more gentle with your breath. You don't have to do a huge intake to get a good breath. Sometimes doing less can be more. And in fact, in this somatic realm, that is very much the case. Okay. You're going to replace the soles of your feet on the surface. And we're going to go the other way. So let me motor plan this for you first. Okay, so just stay in position. So feet are hip distance, knees are around hip distance, soles of the feet on the floor, flat. Thigh bones relaxed into the pelvis. Arms relaxed at the sides. You're simply going to take the navel and the back down towards the surface. You're not shoving it or pressing it harshly. You're simply taking it down to the surface. And then you're releasing back up to neutral. Let's go ahead and do that movement. Draw the navel and the back towards the surface. You don't have to touch, it's just the act of drawing it down. And slowly release. And then completely relax and notice any feedback. Let's do it with the breath. We're going to change the breath slightly. I'll direct you this time. So we're going to take a breath in, and then as you breathe out, you're going to sink. So take a breath in to prepare. As you breathe out, sink the belly and the back. And as you breathe in again, float back up to neutral. Completely relax and notice any sensations. Okay, this time, as you do that movement, I want you to think about that snake that I showed you and the opening of those spaces in the, let's call it the vertebra, opening in the vertebra at the back and the coming together at the front, okay? And the tissues and the muscles will mirror that. So breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, sink the back and belly down, lengthening at the back of the body, shortening, contracting at the front. And then slowly float back up to neutral as you breathe in and completely relax. And this time, let's think about rolling the pelvis a little more. So just place your fingers on your hip bones. And this time, as you sink down, this is motor planning, so don't do it yet. You're going to roll the hip bones closer to the navel, and this will slightly tilt the tailbone upwards. So let's go ahead, breathe in to prepare. As you breathe out, sink the back and belly, allow the pelvis, the hip bones to roll towards the navel. Maybe the tailbone elongates and tilts upwards. And then float back to neutral as you breathe in. This time, feel the length in your spine. So imagine you're getting length from your tailbone all the way through your spine as the belly sinks. So there's movement, as we saw in the snake, when you lift up the middle, there's movement along the whole length of the spine. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, the back sinks down. Can you create more length by lengthening the tailbone? Maybe thinking of elongating crown of the head slightly, and then slowly come back to neutral. Completely relax. Okay, we're going to put the two movements together. Motor planning for you. You're going to inhale and arch, come down to neutral as you breathe out. Take a resting breath. You're going to inhale. As you exhale, sink the back and belly. inhale back up to neutral and take another resting breath. Those resting breaths are an opportunity for the brain to map the territory. Okay, map it anywhere along the spine. So just notice what you notice. Maybe take your attention along the spine, different places along the spine. So here goes. We'll do 3 or 4 of these. So you're going to inhale and arch the back, rolling the pelvis. You're going to exhale, float back down to neutral. Take a resting breath here, clear everything, drop all your tension as you breathe out. Get ready, inhale. As you exhale, sink the back and belly down. As you inhale, slowly return to neutral and completely relax. Take a resting breath. And again, inhale, arch the back, roll the pelvis. Shortening at the back of the body, lengthening at the front. Exhale as you return. Take a resting breath as your body settles and notice the sensations. Slowing down the movie so the brain can see. Now inhale as to prepare. As you exhale, sink the back and belly. Longer at the back, shorter at the front, hip bones rolling. As you inhale, roll, float back up to neutral, relax and notice. Do it one more time by yourself. Okay, now pause for a moment, and we're going to do one more thing to play around with this. Now you're going to make this movement more fluid, like a wave. So you're going to inhale and arch, exhale and sink the back, and then inhale and arch and exhale and sink the back. And you're going to move on a continuum, arching the back and then the back sinking down to the surface. Go ahead and begin that exploration. Now you don't have to do it on one inhalation and one exhalation. Maybe that's too fast for you. Maybe it takes you 2 rounds of breathing to come up to your arch and another 2 rounds of breathing to come down into your flatten and then move up into the arch again a couple of rounds. This is where you get to play around with the movement. Feel the length in your spine. You're moving your bones. You saw in the visual with the snake, everything along that central piece. So for you, this is your vertebra. Everything moved when the middle moved. And in your body, with all the attachments, the muscles, the tendons, the tissue, the all of the fascia, everything moves. So when you're inhaling and arching, your bones are coming closer together at the back. So are all the tissues. So are all the tubes, all of your blood vessels, your lymph vessels, the neural tissue. And then when you go the other way, the tissues at the back of the body, all of them, not just the muscles, get a chance to lengthen out. Now, nobody's here to chat with me in the room. So normally I would stop here, and I probably would have stopped a little bit sooner actually to give us a chance for some feedback. But let's just try one more thing as we're still here. How about this time When you get to the top of your arch, stay there. Be conscious of the shortening at the back of the body and the lengthening of the front, and breathe a couple of deep and wide and slow breaths into the open front of your body. Let's have a go. So you're going to inhale and arch your body. Maybe your arms want to roll out a little bit. Now pause there at the top of your movement, but no pain. Just be aware the back of your body is short, the front of your body is nice and open. Can you swell your breath as if your whole trunk and up to your neck was a balloon? Can you swell your breath everywhere into your trunk? Where can you open? Can you breathe into some new spaces? Spend a couple of breaths there, and then really slowly being conscious of the back muscles softening and lengthening. Just come to neutral and completely relax. Let's do that just once to the other side. So you're going to do the flatten part of the movement. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, sink the back and the belly. Feel like you lengthen the spine away. Feel like you lengthen the back of the neck and the crown away from the center of your body. Now stay there. Your arms might feel like they want to roll in a little bit. Stay there, the apex of your movement, and breathe length into that open back of your body. Can you breathe into new spaces? Can you find new areas, but without strain, without putting on a stretch? So we're not doing this in a stretch. It's a comfortable lengthening, okay? Difference. And slowly return. And now lengthen out your legs. Be long through the legs. Just reach through each heel, reach through your fingers, lengthen your crown away from your tailbone, and then just soften and relax. And let's run that inventory through the body. Heels, notice the contact. Calves, back of the thighs, back of the pelvis, left to right. Is there a difference? Shoulders, left to right. Is there a difference in the weighting? Go to the tailbone and sweep through the spine. Notice the arch. How pronounced is the arch? How high away from the surface is it? And come through the back of the rib cage to the neck. Notice the length of the neck. Notice where the back of the skull is placed on the surface. Is it towards the crown? Is it towards the nape? Is it left, right? What's different? What has changed? Can you feel the back of your arms? Forearms, wrists, just notice. Can you drop your body further into the surface? And what is that contact like now? I'm willing to bet it's different. I don't know how it will be different, but it will be different. If you've overdone it, you might feel tighter. But I trust you not to have overdone it. Maybe you feel like you're bigger. You take up more room. There's more of you in contact. Your shoulders might feel wider. There may be a difference now in how much of your legs and arms and your back contact. There might be a difference in the arch. And notice where your breathing goes now. What moves as you breathe? What is your mood like? What are you feeling? And what are the thoughts going through your head? What are you thinking? we're going to come to standing, but do this slowly and in your own time. First, roll onto one side, it doesn't matter which, and just kind of let your brain know that you're now on your side and that you're preparing to come up to standing. And just come up to standing in the most comfortable way possible. I'm not going to direct you, just do as you wish. And then when you are up in standing, let's just wake up. Now, if you don't want to wake up, if it's nighttime where you are, then, you know, feel free to switch off now and go to sleep. But if you've got stuff to do and you need to wake up, you can feel kind of a little woof, parasympathetic. Okay, you can feel different. So I want you to sort of bring yourself back into your body, bring yourself back into the space around you. So look around you, just take in your space. Feel the floor under your feet. And I like to just, you know, kind of tap, just to remind my brain where I am. You can cross your hands over one another. Tap your neck, tap around your collarbones, tap your chin around your cheeks and jaw and nose, and around the ears, side of the neck, over the skull. Oh, this is falling off. Over the skull. Love to feel my fingertips on my skull and those lovely little dots of sensation that leaves. Okay, so of course there's all kinds of lymph nodes around the head, neck and face where we've been tapping. Maybe tapping the arms, down the side of the ribs, chest, down the back of the legs, front of the legs, the buttocks. And then maybe just bounce on your heels. Shake your arms. I like to swing your legs. Now, this is not a balance exercise. Okay, it could be, but it isn't now. Okay, so your balance might not be fantastic now that since you've just got up from the floor. So swinging your leg forwards and backwards. Loosening up, same on the other side. Come to a standstill. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. Next session, we are going to be doing a movement that ripples out a little bit more to the periphery, to the arms and legs, and to the neck a little bit more, and works more deeply into the front of the body. Thank you so much. Do join me next time.